Hi everyone. We're out here at the greenhouse and I thought today we'd just walk around a little bit and I want to just show you the progress that we've made in the last 2 months since we started getting the greenhouse ready. But also, more importantly, I wanted to share some of the lessons that I've learned, a few mistakes that I've made here from the beginning. Fortunately, you can recover from these things. It wasn't really all that bad, just a few things I didn't anticipate. And I thought it would be interesting to maybe just share some of those things with you. And hopefully, you won't make the same mistakes that I did. All right. It is really bright out here. I probably should have come out here earlier this morning, but there's always things to do. So we're going to start over here with my lovely pile of soil that I had dropped off, delivered. So this was the very first thing that I probably made a mistake on and didn't really anticipate. I was super excited to get this load of dirt. This is about 3 yards of soil right here. And I'm going to, of course, use this to pot up all of my plants. But when the guys dropped it off, I was asking them, like, oh, okay. I was telling them what I was going to do. And I was like, okay, great. I can get started potting my stuff up. And he's like, well, we just mixed this batch with the cow manure. So my very first mistake I made was that I ordered this soil at the time that I needed to pot up my plants, but unfortunately it needs to sit for a little bit because that compost needs to break down. Again, not a huge deal, but something I didn't anticipate. I thought I'd be able to use it right away. But it's been sitting for a couple weeks now, so we're starting to dig into it a little bit. So over here, I've started a compost pile. It's going to be just a really simple composting in place and just to start building up my soil. Well, of course, we're using the coffee grounds from the coffee shop, so I have that advantage. And then this little plot over here, it looks to me at some point in time, it was previously, from the previous owners, it was some type of little garden bed. And I'm just going to reuse it again and do like a little, I'm kind of probably going to do like an experimental herb bed here. All right, I don't know if you all remember when I first started, there was nothing in here 2 months ago. So this brings me to my second mistake that I made. So I knew that because this is wide open in the sun, I knew it was going to be super, super hot in here. And I was correct. So even with my shade cloth that I put up, it's just not cutting the heat. So my problem that I ran into was that I started a bunch of seedlings. You can see them down here. And unfortunately, they popped up right away and I was super excited. And then it was just too hot for them. So they are not liking it at all. In fact, a lot of my plants are not liking it in here, and I'm going to have to get a lot of them out because I just don't know what I'm going to do about the shade. I am going to try a little bit later to put up the metal that's right over there. See the metal over there? That actually goes up on top of the greenhouse here. So I'm going to try to get that back on, but I'm a little nervous about it because, you know, we just replaced a lot of the glass in here. And really, you know, if it doesn't work out, that's okay. It is what it is. But just so you know, I've never grown inside of a greenhouse before. And I just, you know, I thought about these things, but I didn't really understand some of the dynamics. So you see, I have an old sick fan over here. I need to get another fan in here. But really, I think I'm just going to abandon the greenhouse now. Maybe just grow some succulents and cacti. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Like these guys, they're doing all right, right? They look pretty good. They look pretty happy. So maybe the greenhouse is going to become a cactus succulent place and just a place to store things to keep them dry until, you know, until fall. So I did get all the ventilation working, which was great, but it's not really putting a dent in the heat. I mean, I just walked in here and I'm already sweating. It is cool. I've got a, I think I showed you this before. I've got this little thermostat. So that's what opens up the vents up top. See this right here? I bought this thing. It's called a SwitchBot. And it records the temperature. I'll try to show that to you in a little bit. But it's worked really great. This is the SwitchBot app, and when you open it up, this is what it looks like. And you can name your little meter, and you just pull it down. You swipe down with your finger, and it updates the temperature and the humidity. So what you're looking at right now are the actual readings from the greenhouse. And you can see that it's recording the temperature. This is recording in Fahrenheit, but you can switch it over to Celsius. And then you can see here it can record day, week, month, year. And you can just scroll all the way back and you can see those different temperatures. I'm just showing you, these are actual temperatures from the greenhouse. And then if you swipe down, you can see the relative humidity, and it's the same thing. You can see how humid it is in the greenhouse. It's up to 99%. Of course, today it's raining, so the humidity is really high. And if we scroll down a little more, you can actually export the data or clear the data. It has a bunch of different settings. It's super handy. I will add a link to the description below for the SwitchBot if you're interested. All right, so you get to see my face for a minute. I'm dripping in sweat. So I'm still in the greenhouse, but we're going to move outside in just a second. So number 3, the third mistake that I made is I told you about my seedlings. I got them started and they popped, and then it got so hot in here they stopped growing. And in that whole process, I overwatered. So I have never had this much trouble with seedlings before. I've always done great, but I've always grown them on my back porch under a grow light with fans, and yeah, they've done really well for me. So this is kind of an anomaly. It's kind of left me like, oh my gosh, like I've lost my touch. But I know it's just because this glass greenhouse is just way too hot. So I've overwatered my seedlings. It's too hot for them. They're not able to transpire, you know, like evaporate. The water's not able to evaporate because it's so hot. And we're going to get them out, get them potted up and get them out of here. All right, the fourth thing that I did that was kind of a mistake is that I didn't really anticipate how many plants I was going to need to pot up. I mean, I knew what I was buying, and I don't know why I was not thinking clearly about the pots that I was going to need. So I ordered over 400 plugs. This is just half of them right here. I'll take you outside to show you some of the others. Here's some of them here. And then the rest of them I have up here. So yeah, I did not anticipate the amount of pots I was going to need. And I just figured, oh yeah, I'll just order more. But you know, silly me, I just thought I could go right back to where I was getting my pots from and I wouldn't have any trouble, but that turned out to not be the case. They were out of the sizes that I wanted. And then all of a sudden, I had all of these plants, not enough pots. My topsoil, or not my topsoil, but my soil was not ready to go. So this was another little mistake, and I had to quickly purchase some pots from Amazon, which actually was not bad because the price was good, but I will say I was not entirely happy with the shape of them because they don't fit that well into these trays that I bought. They fit okay, but when you get 15 of them in there, they don't fit as well. They're kind of like squished. So whatever. I mean, I made it work. It happened. I got some really inexpensive pots. I got everything potted up. I was just in a little bit of a panic mode. This brings me to my fifth mistake that I made when I was just getting started here, is that I did not, because of the temperature in the greenhouse, I needed to move things out very quickly. I thought I was going to be able to work in there and then I would have everything started in there. And you can see I still have a few things started, but I'm realizing that it's so hot, I need to get things out and I don't even want to work in there anymore. So I'm going to have to create another space outside where I can work, or I may be able to work underneath of this sheltered area, which is kind of nice. And so my problem with that is that I did not prepare enough staging areas, places to put plants where you have weed barrier and you don't have to worry about weeds. And you know, you'll have to stage these areas in places where some of the plants are getting shade, some are getting sun. So this has been a little bit of a challenge. And as y'all know, I'm renting this space, so I have to be mindful of other things. This is not my property. So I have to be careful of where I put things, so that I don't go out of my bounds, but also, you know, people are on the property working all the time, and I don't want to have my stuff in their way for when they're driving their trucks and mowing and doing things like that. So we're going to continue on the little tour of what I'm going to be, some staging areas that I'm going to be creating. I'll show you that and some of my solutions. And this is kind of ongoing. So this is a little area between the greenhouses that I use. There's actually a sink in there and it's nice and cool. So I've put my buggy in there to keep it out of the weather. And this is a nice shaded area. It gets a little bit of sun in the afternoon. So I've had to put these tibachinas over here because I don't have another really good shaded area for them right now. But they're doing great. I mean, I've already got them potted up. I mean, look how big some of these have gotten. Really happy with those. And I think I might even go over to the other side of this, and it has a little bit of sun in the morning and then it's just in shade. So I might end up putting some plants over there. So this was the other big thing. I decided I wanted to use this little trellis area because it does provide a little bit of shade, but I had to get all these pots moved. They were sitting up on top of the shelves, and that that was a feat. But you know, I did it. We're still working on this side over here. But yeah, so I'm going to be using this as a kind of a semi-shady area. It's getting some nice sun right now. These plants actually need more sun, which is great. So what I've decided I'm going to do is these are going to end up getting moved, and I'll keep all my nice little herbs that I have growing. So we'll keep these up here, and then I'm going to end up getting a shade cloth to put up top. So then this was another staging area that I have. This one gets a lot more sun, so I wanted to, there's only certain plants I'm going to be able to put out here, ones that can handle full sun. And this is my next staging area that I'm going to create. So I just cleaned up this palm tree and I showed you the soil pile in my little garden area. But this is actually a really nice spot right here. So I'm going to end up putting the weed barrier out here. And I'm going to put some of the plastic pieces. I think I can get 3 or 4 of them in here. And this is going to be another really like partially shade, partial sun staging area. We are on our way to having a little operational nursery here. I'm very excited. We probably have, I would say, close to 700 or 800 plants. Not all of them are ready yet. It's going to be a little bit longer before they're ready to sell. But we're getting there, and I'm starting to feel really good about it. Like we're getting a good base, So even with the little setbacks that we've had, I feel pretty good with what we've accomplished in the last 2 months. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something useful out of this and learned from my mistakes. If you like this content that I'm producing, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps out the channel a lot. And I'll see you in the next one.